Well, welcome to a discussion about bright space discussions. Okay, so the title of this presentation is about those online discussions, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So in this presentation, I'd like to go over the following issues. I'd like to talk about why bother. I'd like to give you some examples. Then I have a couple of caveats, some warnings, all right. Then a couple of worst case scenarios and what to do about them. And then finally, I have a very short summary. Summary means short, all right. So first of all, let's just dive right in. Why bother? Okay, I don't need to spend a lot of time on this particular slide. First of all, it's very obvious that discussions in Brightspace can replicate the best of a face-to-face classroom. It really is possible to get lively, intelligent, detailed discussions going among students. I've taught online for over 15 years, and I know of which I speak here. Okay. Then another thing you can do is you can drive content. You can actually force content across the class through discussions. I'm going to show you that in a second. And then last but not least, they provide weekly checkpoints. A good online class needs to have something due every single solitary week, all right? And you need to have a way to check up on your students to see how they're doing, to see the progress that they're being made, see if they're actually reading the material, learning the material, and making progress towards projects that they're working on, okay? So classroom discussions really work in that regards. So I'll show you some examples, all right? So these examples are from my research paper class. And I start off very first week, I have them do what I call top 10 list. And it's kind of obvious. It's an introductory kind of a thing. Introduce yourself to me and to your fellow students. All right. And I ask them to be very specific, provide a lot of detail. I provide my own example of what my own top 10 list would look like. And I specify the due dates. I like to have things due on a Thursday night, their first post. And then I have them respond to one peer by, in my case, Monday night, all right? And there are different ways you can do this, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute, okay? So what I do with this is they get to know each other this way, and if you notice here, it says I give extra credit for more posts. I've seen students respond to everybody in the class, all right? I've also seen them just respond to one student. Most commonly, you get 3 to 5 extra responses if you offer extra credit, all right? I also use this initial discussion as a springboard to, pardon my ums, to thinking about other topics or topics for future projects they may do. I might find out a student's an engineering major. I can direct them towards topics in engineering. I might find out that a student has a personal issue such as a disease or something with children, that kind of thing, and I can direct them towards topics that way. So I find this initial discussion extremely useful, and I'll talk in a minute about how I grade that and respond to that. Okay, let me go on. Let me look at the second example. I like to drive content through discussions, and in this case, this is still for the research class. We talk about what logical fallacies are. I provide a handout in this discussion, listing 10 types of logical fallacies. I provide them with a chapter from, of all things, a Rush Limbaugh book. It really creates a lively discussion, and I'll get to this later, but I've never seen a problem. I've never seen bullying in this discussion, although you get a wide variety of opinions here, okay? And the point is that because this is a research paper class, their paper is not about their opinion. It's about how they muster their research to provide a supported opinion. So the discussion drives this, all right? That's the example there. Then item 3, example 3, it provides a checkpoint. I mentioned this already, that it's really important in an online class to have regular checkpoints, to have regular assignments, to keep the class moving, and for you as an instructor to be able to check up every week to see how they're doing. And in this case, this is research paper class, and they can't put off the research into the last minute. They can't put off all the research till they do their annotated bibliography. They have to, to even develop their topic or develop their focus, they have to be working on the research all along. So partway through the class, I provide this discussion, all right, where, you need to provide 4 articles from the library, research articles from the library databases, and you need to correctly cite them. And before this, I give a lecture on citing, all right? You might have seen that in this, in Marcia Dixon's webpage here. And that said, they provide their research at this point. That gives me a chance to look at how well they're doing. Are they making progress? All right. How good is their research? And do they understand citations? Okay. And then they're also sharing their research. This being a classroom discussion, they're sharing their research with each other. And sometimes you get ideas from each other. Okay. So that's pretty much the examples. Let's talk about a few cautions. students need to see the point about these discussions. You have to be very transparent. They cannot be busy work. Students hate busy work. There has to be a clear point to the discussion, okay? And then early on, I had too many responses. I wanted to really dig into each, to talk to each other. You can't have students, you can't have 3 or 4, you can't require 3 or 4 responses for every discussion because they're just going to say the same thing. And students get that. They realize it's repetitious. And I've had negative feedback on that. Okay, so, and with the help of another instructor, we decided, look, 1 response is enough. Okay, you need to respond to the topic itself, and then 1 peer-to-peer response, and that's enough. If it's done well, that's enough for 100 for perfect grade on that. And then last but not least, it can be a little hard to grade, or hard to engage. And to be honest, I do not personally respond to every single discussion post. I can't do that. Okay, but in the grading, when you get to the grading in Brightspace, and this particular video is not about grading in Brightspace, okay, but it's very easy. I know you can respond with voice comments if you want, but when you're actually doing the grading, at the end of the week, you can give them a grade, and you can also talk to them at that point. It's quite simple at that point, okay? Or during the week, something I've tried doing, is sometimes, depending on the discussion, I'll provide my own video in there. I'll provide my own responses. Then I'll send out an announcement or email. Say, hey, students, I've looked at this too, and here's my thoughts on this, and I can respond that way. It's in the discussion. Or at the end of the following week, you can write a summary or do a short video summarizing the discussions. There are different ways you can engage it. Okay, so there are possibilities. Okay, worst case scenario. Okay. First of all, they can be very sloppy. You need to be very clear on what you're expecting. This is a college class, all right? These are not direct messages. These are not text messages. I personally believe that you need to use correct grammar, correct punctuation, that kind of thing. And sometimes I have to sort of upbraid the students and say, hey, this is a college class. You need to be very, very professional, all right? There can be bullying. I've never witnessed it or felt it, but I'm, white, male, privileged, that kind of thing. And I haven't had it happen, all right? There can be disrespect among students. There can be bullying to the instructor, all right? And there can also be plagiarism. I have heard cases of somebody contacting me, say, hey, Mr. Weller, so-and-so is copying my posts, all right? That can happen, all right? These things are not major. They don't happen frequently. Okay, and in the case of bullying or disrespect, bullying you as the instructor or bullying other students, you have the Dean of Students at your disposal. It's there on the PFW webpage. There are forms you can fill out. You can go over to the Student Union, room 111, WALB, and talk to them there personally, what's going on. And students can be disciplined for classroom behavior, all right? And this is important. You need to make this clear in your syllabus, right? You need to have a clear and etiquette statement. What do you expect for grammar, standard English, that kind of thing? And what do you expect for classroom behavior? Expulsion can be one of the consequences of bullying in a discussion forum, right? So you do have recourse. Okay, let me just go to the summary. First of all, know your goals. Why are you doing this? 2, don't overdo it. 3, be clear on etiquette. And 4, I am an English teacher, and I know you're not supposed to add new information to conclusion, but I did want to point this out, that who knows, all right, when all this is over, right? I mean, who knows when, but many of you are going to be returning to the face-to-face classrooms. You could still use Brightspace and you could use Brightspace discussions to initiate discussions in the face-to-face classroom, okay, or to initiate class content in the face-to-face classroom. And you could provide the reading. You could ask a couple of questions in the discussion forum. You can make sure the students are doing the reading. That way, it could be a greater discussion forum in Brightspace. And then when they come to class, they theoretically are prepared, because if they wanted a good grade in the online discussion forum, then they come to class and they've read the material at least, and they're prepared with some thoughts, and then they can expand on those thoughts in the actual face-to-face classroom. So I hope this is helpful. It's short, it's sweet. Let me know if you have questions. Thank you.